Copyright disclaimer. Under Title 17 U.S.C. Section 107, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, educational, or personal use tips a balance in favor of fair use. The Irish Times. How Scientology is trying to insert itself into Irish schools. You know, that's what they do. The controversial church is giving out teaching materials that hide its involvement. Told you the Irish aren't playing around. Conor Gallagher, Saturday, December 16th, 2017. When the neat white package arrived at Rosmini Community School in Drumcondra 3 months ago, Chris Garrett was impressed. Inside it, the religious studies teacher found a complete curriculum on how to teach human rights to students, alongside posters, leaflets, and a well-produced DVD entitled The Story of Human Rights. You know, the biggest violators of human rights are using this as propaganda. It's unreal. In a job where resources can be hard to come by, teachers usually welcome a gift of good quality study materials. The resources were amazing, really fantastic. It was all very well done. There's a price. Garrett says before adding that he immediately threw it all in the bin. The material came from an organization called Youth for Human Rights, one of about 500 organizations operating internationally that are widely regarded as front groups for the Church of Scientology. The Dublin teacher was familiar with the group, having previously taught his class a module on Scientology. He had even used some of the organization's own material to illustrate how it operates. I was pretty savvy just because I was aware of it in the past. But as a teacher, the resource packs are really, really good. I would be afraid that a young, naive teacher would be taken in. See, Scientology, they're on to you in Ireland. They're not playing. You're grappling for resources, and when you're teaching the topic of human rights, which falls into so many different subjects, you would think it's fantastic. Although Youth for Human Rights is staffed and funded almost exclusively by Scientologists, the controversial organization is mentioned nowhere in the literature Garrett received. See what they do? The only overt clue to its connection is the mention of the science fiction writer L. Ron Hubbard, Scientology's founder, who was listed as a humanitarian alongside Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr. Oh boy. They embed the ideology into it in a very discreet way. You'd have to really look to see it. It's kind of a covert way of getting into schools, Garrett says. An Irish Times investigation has found that over the past 2 years, the Church of Scientology has made a huge effort to insert itself into Irish society. An Irish Times investigation has found that over the past 2 years, the Church of Scientology, see what they're doing is the safe pointing, has made a huge effort to insert itself into Irish society, as well as sending thousands of brochures to schools around the country. The church has attempted, sometimes successfully, to convince government-funded charities, including those working with drug addicts, prisoners, and sex offenders, to use its material promoting Hubbard's worldview. Experts warn that these efforts are an attempt to normalize the church and to help it obtain charitable status in Ireland, meaning it wouldn't have to pay tax. They say that despite its social programs in Ireland, it is still the same organization that has been accused of indoctrinating members while forcing them to donate huge sums of money and to disown any family or friends who object. The same organization that in the 1970s engaged in a criminal conspiracy to infiltrate the U.S. government to destroy incriminating records on its founder. Irish Scientology representatives say their organization is merely trying to help the most vulnerable of Irish society. Oh, they just love the vulnerable, don't they? Like a bunch of vampires. And deny any ulterior motive. Deny. And they claim to be enjoying a huge amount of success. And there's Chris Garrett, a religion teacher, who had been sent church literature. Photographed by Brenda Fitzsimmons. Only 87 members. Scientology is not new to Ireland. In fact, Hubbard set up a facility on Marion Square in 1956, just 2 years after founding the organization, yet it has never made significant inroads here. The last census showed only 87 Irish members, and up to a few years ago, the organization was deeply in debt, and relying on funds from its U.S. headquarters to stay afloat. But recently, Scientology, which has been officially labeled a cult in several countries, appears to have turned its fortunes around in Ireland, as evidenced by the opening of major centres on Marion Square and in Freer House in southwest Dublin at a cost of millions. The opening of the centres generated a huge amount of public attention, but the organization's more subtle initiatives have gone largely under the radar. The Irish Times has gathered reports from 47 schools, 47, go look it up, what is 47? Schools around the country that say they have been sent material from Scientology groups. Two sources say Scientology's Irish National Affairs Office claims to have distributed some 40,000 Youth for Human Rights leaflets to teachers around the country. I'd like to know who those sources are. Two sources who have worked with Scientology in recent months say it's Irish National Affairs Office. Okay, I'm reading the same thing. Scientology itself claims to have distributed 500,000 drug-free world booklets in Ireland. You guys know they always overinflate stuff. I mean, you're in the heart of a country that, whether they're actually religious or not, like their country is based on being Protestant or Catholic. So we'll see. Catherine Barry, a secondary school English teacher in Fermoy, County Cork, says she is aware of 2 teachers at other Irish schools who have used its anti-drug material in class. She believes the lack of a concrete anti-drug and mental health syllabus in schools forms a fertile ground for the Scientologists to infiltrate with their own brand of misinformation. Unlike traditional subjects, they always go for the children, where there is an established body of knowledge that has been built up over centuries. The area of well-being has no real content from which to form a syllabus, she says. Marie Griffin, chief executive of CEAST, an organization that operates more than 100 Catholic secondary schools, says she is aware of a number of schools getting Scientology material. It doesn't appear to be linked to the organization at first, but when you read into it, it becomes apparent. Most teachers who spoke to this newspaper say they did not use the material when they learned of its connection to Scientology. Scientology, did you hear that? They ain't using your crap. Others say they found it too U.S. focused for an Irish class. But there is some evidence of the material finding its way into classrooms. A Scientology spokeswoman says the church is regularly invited to speak at schools, about its community programs. I'd have to see that with my own eyes, to be really honest, you guys. Pay attention to the numerical coding. They always tell you who they are. Just go look at what is the 47 with Zachary K. Hubbard. 2 Scientology organizations, Applied Scholastics and the Foundation for a Drug-Free World, paid for stands at the Education and Training Board Ireland conference in Kilkenny in September, when they offered to come to schools to speak to the students. I don't personally think it's going to go far, honestly. That month, Scientology groups also hired stands at the Transition Year Expo in Kildare, attended by 7,000 students. They're literally like directly going for the children. It's disgusting. One of the groups was the Citizens Commission on Human Rights, which teaches that psychiatry is an industry of death. No, that's Scientology. And blamed psychiatrists for the Holocaust and the September 11th attacks. The organizers of both conferences said they were unaware of the group's connections at the time. Last May, a parent wrote to his daughter's school in Howth, in North County, Dublin, to complain about the use of Foundation for a Drug-Free World material during a presentation to the school by the Dublin Northeast Drugs and Alcohol Task Force, a publicly funded body. Their material has been discredited by many healthcare professionals, the parent wrote in a letter released under the Freedom of Information Act. I find it quite unsettling that they did not vet the material. Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Cha-ching, cha-ching. I can't help but think of all the orphanages in Ireland and what happened to the children. I find it quite unsettling that they did not vet the material, which to me, quite apart from the Scientology link, does not seem to be at all age appropriate. Educate Together schools appear particularly likely to receive Scientology-backed material. Until recently, its online resource bank featured a church website link. Like teachers, the task force was using the Scientology material because little else was available. A spokesman for the task force says it used it no written Irish-produced drug awareness materials were available. The task force stopped its use following the parents' complaint. Educate Together schools appears to be particularly likely to receive Scientology-backed material. Until recently, its online resource bank for teachers featured a link to the Youth for Human Rights website. An Educate Together spokesman said it was unaware of the group's connection to Scientology. Yeah, sure. And teachers were under no obligation to use material in the resource bank. The link has since been removed. A spokeswoman for the Department of Education says it is up to the boards of directors of individual schools to decide what external resources they use, although she adds there are regulations about visiting speakers. That's very lame. That's extremely lame. When they're basically trying to get to the children to traffic them. The two main teaching unions, the TUI and ASTI, both urge teachers and parents to exercise common sense when dealing with external organizations that are looking for access to schools. If the source of the material is unclear or in any way difficult to ascertain, schools should err on the side of caution and should not use it. An ASTI spokesman says, Christmas Fun Fair. Schools are just one part of the church's push in Ireland. Other initiatives include engaging in drug outreach work, putting on free concerts and lectures, and even setting up a free Christmas fun fair at its Fairhouse Center. On the corporate side, the church has hired a big advertising firm to publicize its events, as well as the public relations company CCIPR, the well-known defamation lawyer Paul Tweed has also been retained to deal with negative Irish coverage of Scientology's international leader, David Miscavige. David, it's too late. People know what you are. Tweed has already helped to prevent publication of one negative story. By the way, people don't read newspapers and magazines the way they used to. They find information on their own. This is actually kind of makes me laugh. Tweed has already helped to prevent publication of one negative story about the organization that was due to run in a tabloid newspaper. Who reads those anymore? I mean, I'm reading this, but it's not as common as it used to be. Miscavige opened the Fairhouse Center in mid-October to much fanfare. Oh, that's some propaganda right there. Fanfare to nobody. Since then, it has hosted... Somebody got a payment. Since then, it has hosted a string of events, including a Halloween fair targeted at children, a variety concert targeted at children, and an Alice in Wonderland Family Fun Day. They always call it Family Fun Day. And Alice in Wonderland is an MK Ultra program. Just saying. All events are free and local families are welcome to attend. You can check in any way you like, but you just can't. Wait, how's it go? On a dark desert highway, cool wind in my hair. You could check in, but you can't check out in Hotel California. During a tour of the facility this week, a Scientology official... Oh, now we got to get the propaganda. You know, the Scientology officials that nobody has names. The Irish Times that thousands have visited... Yeah, that means nobody's visited. Since the center opened, that means 0 people, including local politicians. Cha-ching, cha-ching, ching, ching. Anything for money. And community groups requesting to use the auditorium. They prey on vulnerable and poor people too. The church also crops up in more unexpected locations, such the Ideal Home Show where it had a stall, and the Dublin Marathon, where it offered tired runners massages and literature about Hubbard. You see, they're I'm sorry, Scientologists, but this is like vampires, like feeding. I know when you're in, it doesn't seem like that, but that's what it's like. Outside the Fairhouse facility, the attitude of the locals is wary. Hell yeah, it is. They're Irish. Hello? But not entirely negative. Oh, keep talking. All the people that have died in all these wars and all the atrocities that happened in the orphanages, in the nunneries. Come on, you guys. Wakey, wakey. One woman says she will never set foot in the place. Yeah, that's my Irish sister. No matter if they're giving away free cars. Yeah. Irish in the house, man. Yeah. An older man says he doesn't know much Scientology, but has no real problem with their tactics. It's because he doesn't know what they are. That's all. That's all that is. They can't be much worse than the Catholic Church And we put up with them for long enough. That's only because this guy doesn't know what they are. That's it. The Dublin Southwest TD Sean Crow calls Scientology a cult. Yeah! Irish in the house. And is worried the group is attempting to become part of the fabric of the community. It's exactly what they're doing. But they're like, I was talking about the tentacles. I don't know how to say that. In Talat, before starting to recruit people. He is particularly worried about Scientology's drug outreach work. Just get the word out. Its groups have been distributing anti-drug leaflets widely around Dublin. Last year, the mayors of Limerick, it's always them, that's some safe pointing, Galway and Waterford were photographed with Scientologists from the Drug Free World campaign who toured the country with a swing band. Oh, what's that swing band? I forgot the name of it. The politicians later said they were unaware the events were connected to Scientology. Well, that's a positive right there. That means the politicians are trying to distance themselves. Oh boy, they're really using Narconon in Ireland. They're really, really going on. Narconon, one of Scientology's most controversial anti-drug organizations. Narconon has yet to be established in Ireland. In Ballavor, County Meath, there are rumors it has brought the old National School site to turn into a treatment facility. I hope they don't do that. The site has been bought by a trust, and Scientology and Narconon officials refuse to say if they are behind the deal. A meeting of concerned locals is planned for tomorrow night. See, people, I think that they kind of know something's like not right. You know what I mean? There are also reports of Narconon-style treatments being offered to people here. I think, I've not been to Ireland, but I just think a lot of them have some really common sense. And I think a lot of Irish people are they have a lot of street smarts. In my opinion. The main treatment involves subjects spending hours in a sauna while taking huge doses of vitamins. In 2012, Oklahoma authorities investigated several deaths at the state Narconon's facility. Before revoking its medical permit. It's not just Oklahoma, it's other places. Whew, this is long. When you look at the materials in any detail, you can tell it's Scientology. I was very alarmed reading it. After that, we didn't let them darken our door again. Fiona O'Leary, a Scientology official, offered her a Narconon treatment for her autistic 13-year-old son. Oh my God. I think they're talking about the purification. I know they do the purification at the Narconon, but that's kind of worded a little weird. Scientology says the official was misunderstood and he never claimed the procedure had a medical benefit. You know what, you guys? The fact that the people are distancing themselves is a really good sign. We have a huge problem in parts of the country in relation to drugs. Well, the Illuminati wants to make sure of that. Excuse me. And I suppose people are desperately looking for solutions of treatment, says Crow, but I wouldn't be encouraging anyone to go to them. Experts have said their treatments are questionable, to say the least. Then there is Criminon, a Scientology group similar to Narconon, which claims it can reform criminals and stop recidivism. Criminon has been examining lists of crime prevention groups in Ireland before writing to them to offer their services, according to the documentation seen by the Irish Times. I personally don't think that any of this is going to go too far. It's too much information out right now. They called in with boxes of materials, When you actually look at the materials in any detail, you can tell it's Scientology, says Lisa Cuthbert of PACE, a state-funded organization that specializes in sex offender treatment. I want to say so many things right now, but I'm not gonna. I remember being very alarmed reading it. After that, we didn't let them darken our door again. Criminon sent another letter to PACE, offering its services to offenders. They're getting more desperate, but they're actually actively recruiting people that have criminal records of sex offending. She says she wrote back to tell them to take a running jump. Good. Irish in the house. She also told the probation service and asked it to alert other agencies about Criminon's connections. I just have issues with a cult trying to access vulnerable people, she says. Yeah. Criminon had slightly more success with other offender groups. It was briefly involved with the Prisoner Support Network, a group that coordinates offender support groups, but was not allowed to join after other members learned of its connections. See? They're trying to get their foot in the doors of these places, and people are not letting them in. PR tool. It's called safe pointing, says Tony Ortega. Oh, boy. An American journalist and author who's... Unbelievable. Who specializes in covering Scientology and has been monitoring its Irish activities. A Scientology spokeswoman said Ortega is a blogger with a history of falsifying stories. Oh, gosh. I've seen it so many times. Exactly like it's happening in Ireland. Ortega says he explains that in Hubbard jargon, safe pointing is the creation of a positive public image of Scientology in a community that allows it to grow and thrive. LAPD would know about that. This process will likely lead to a push for charitable status in Ireland, predicts Professor Steve Kent. I don't think it'll ever go through there. I just don't. A Scientology expert from the University of Alberta, it hopes to use its alleged social betterment programs as a PR tool to help in these efforts. So evil. Scientology's media relations official in Ireland, you know, the one with no name, says the church's social outreach efforts hide no motive and it is concerned only with the well-being of the community. They probably do believe that. I bet they do. Diana Stahl, Scientology's media relations official in Ireland, oh, we got a name, says charitable status is not a priority for the church in Ireland. Good. You know, I don't believe them, though. She also insists Scientology is non-conversionalist. As such, anyone is free to come in and visit. Yeah, sure. Under no pressure that they would be asked to join Scientology. She says the church's social outreach efforts hide no motive, and it is concerned only with the well-being of the community, particularly in Fear House. We believe that together we can all accomplish the common dream we all have of a peaceful... I'm sorry, you guys. You know, I'm more aware of like what they're saying now, so it just does make me laugh. All have of a peaceful and cooperative society, just like Brave New World or 1984. Oh, free from crime and war, and where people have the freedom and ability to flourish and prosper. I mean, I know a lot of Scientologists. They mean well. They do. It's just that I know that that's 1984 and Brave New World, but... Scientology's image has been relentlessly battered over the past 2 decades. Aww. Documentaries showing its members working in slave-like conditions, facts. In comedy shows like South Park, facts. Skewering its belief. Oh my goodness, this is funny. In alien overlords in a galactic confederacy, mean it is viewed with a mixture of unease and amusement by many. Yeah, that's why I can't stop laughing. Sorry. It refuses to say how many members it has. See, they're refusing because people are onto them. That's why they're not saying. Oh my gosh, this is funny. But observers estimate it could now be as low as 50,000 worldwide. I think it's way lower than that, personally. Stahl says they don't keep track of membership numbers. And a lot of them are getting up in years, you know. The church says it has had thousands through its doors in Fear House since its center there opened. Lies. When the Irish Times visited last Sunday, it was almost... Irish Times. They're just telling it like it is. The Irish Times visited last Sunday. It was almost empty. I'm a rose looking. I wish I could do the Irish accent. That would be great. Because I'm hearing it in the Irish Celtic, accent. A morose-looking Santa Claus sat in the corner while the Winter Wonderland fairground rides lay idle. Although staff said it had been much busier earlier in the weekend. Part of the church's problem, according to Ortega, is that it still uses the original strategies Hubbard laid out decades ago. Let's see, now we're going to blame David Miscavige for everything, right? You guys, wait for it. David Miscavige keeps telling his followers that if they just open these buildings, the public will come rushing in. This is a strategy that utterly fails every time, but they just keep doing the same thing over and over again. The one opened in Dublin will become just as empty as everywhere else. So that's it, you guys. I'm sorry I was laughing so hard. It's just funny. I realize I think Irish people, they're not messing around. And the Irish Times, they're not bought. You can tell. There was a few little propaganda pieces in there, but I thought it was well done. I will put the link in the description box. Like and subscribe if you choose. And have a good day or good night, wherever you are.